Hey, how's everybody doing today out there? So, here's what we got today. Gee, it's taken apart again. You wouldn't believe it. We have the stupidest issues with these things, so.
We got it all apart again. If you remember, we had it all torn down the bottom end, checked the bearings. We never pulled the cylinder heads off. Didn't have an issue at that point. So we went back and we were dynoing it. Everything was going good. And it started leaking water out the back of the cylinder head right here in the corner. This has an O-ring cylinder head, O-ring block, and copper cylinder head gaskets. So we had an issue. We had a leak. Pulled it all apart. Checked the block and the heads. Everything was good. So we went ahead and we put new gaskets on it, and we are going to try it again. Hopefully we don't have any leaks. So one thing about copper gaskets, they seal compression great. Water, not so good. So we took some extra steps, and we're going to try and keep that water from leaking out. So I'm going to get this thing back together. It's got a solid roller cam. So I have all the push rods numbered for which cylinder they go in. So when you take these things apart, you want to make sure you put everything back together the way it came apart. Same with all the rockers. Everything's bagged, labeled. So we'll get it all back together. I'm going to change the oil in this one too. And basically not much different than what we did on the truck, except for this is a solid roller cam and we'll be adjusting it with feeler gauges. So here we go. Before we glue this intake manifold on, I want to show you guys how I do this, a couple little tricks. So, just take a drill bit, a few divots, about 5 on either side. Make sure you put it where it's going to run on the block, because over here there's nothing for it to seat on. And these blocks are already drilled for those rubber gaskets, obviously, so we don't have to do anything there. Sometimes we'll put in a couple extra in the block. I don't want to do it with this one because I don't want any metal shavings in there right now, but this will help keep that silicone in. We never use a gasket. We always just use silicone. We'll put about a 1/4 inch bead on either end, and around the water jackets we'll smear some on front and back. About a 1/4 inch bead, and we'll let it sit here for about 10 minutes to set until it's not tacky anymore, and then we'll go ahead and drop the manifold on. And if you want to let that sit and dry overnight, don't start the motor as soon as you get it together in a hurry, because that crankcase pressure can actually push the silicone out, and you'll have a leak. So if you want your motor to seal up tight, make sure all surfaces are cleaned with acetone really well, and you follow these steps. Make sure you have silicone around your water jackets and a nice 1/4 inch bead, and you shouldn't have any leaks. Another nice thing to do is, if you can tape off the front edge of this and the front edge of your manifold, so when you run your bead, you can just run your finger along it, peel your tape back, and it's just a nice clean looking bead of silicone there. So, alright, on this car we're going to be using the Felpro performance gaskets here. I've always been a fan of Felpro's gaskets. So only thing we're using are these. So all that is junk. First thing we want to do is make sure our ports line up good. They should be the right ones. Yes, they are. Cool. So we'll set these aside, get our silicone out. What I also like to do, these Felpro gaskets always have a little bit of leftovers. Just go through them, peel that off. It's from when they stamp them. Just take the extra time, clean the gasket up so you don't end up with any of that in your port.
And it doesn't take very long. You just kind of deburr it with your finger. I usually do this while I'm waiting for my silicone to tack up, so let's go ahead and get on that. So bummer of the day is brand new tube of silicone from Napa. Napa lets me down more than anything. I don't know why. It freaking won't come out. And it's good. It's just dried up, like this much of it's dried up. So I'm gonna cut a hole in this thing and waste the whole half a tube, whatever. Alright, so everything's going pretty good. We're going to work on the exhaust now. So we want to watch, we're going to start with number one. We'll watch for number one exhaust valve. Oop, passed it. There we go. Alright, so our number one exhaust valve is now down, so we can adjust number 6. So I went over this a little bit on my last video. If you guys wondering what I'm doing here, this is just the proper configuration or whatever you want to call it to adjust valves. This solid cam, so we gotta do it with a feeler gauge. So I said we got one. We can adjust number 6 now. This guy right here. So what I do is I just get my 18 thousandths feeler gauge, stick it in there. Give it a nice, good crank, as hard as I can crank it by hand. Tighten up the collar off. Should be perfect. So we'll go through and do all the rest of them. And when you go in this sequence, so we did 1. Now number 8's also down, you notice. So we can do like 2 at a time. So we'll do 1 and 8. Which will be adjusting 6 and 5, and then we'll go to watch number 4 and 3, and they'll go next, and then it's basically 2 at a time as you go. So. Valves are adjusted now. Got our distributor dropped in there real quick, pointing the right way right at number 1 cylinder. So we'll just continue on with this thing and have her out of here in no time. All right, well my battery died, of course. It's nothing normal, out of the normal. So I went ahead and I got all this stuff tightened up, some wires hooked up there, coolant temperature sensors and whatnot. So I'm gonna go ahead and I need to get this exhaust back on. I need to get the spark plug wires on, cap and rotor, and the fuel injection, the Holley throttle body over. I'm not gonna start this thing today. I'm gonna let all my silicone, dry all the way for 24 hours before I put water in it, before I do anything like that. So tomorrow we will come and we will change the oil first thing in the morning, get some antifreeze in it, and we'll set the timing at 14 degrees is where we had it before. So should be straightforward. Another day, another dollar. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll have this firing up probably on my next video. So hope you guys liked it. Like, subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click this button up here. And if you want to check out more Heimlich Hot Rods videos, click that button right there. And you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.